What's up YouTube? This is Brian from Bull Strength coming at you with another video, and today we're going to be talking about why your knees collapse when you squat and how to fix it. Have you ever had your knees cave in while attempting to come out of a squat? If this is a problem for you, then you have what is called valgus knee. If you continue to squat like this, you're setting yourself up for some serious knee injuries, including tears over the short term and arthritis over the long term. So how do you fix valgus knee? In this video, I'm going to list every possible cause for valgus knee and give you a plan for fixing it based on what's going on with your body. In order to come up with a plan to fix it, we first have to understand what the possible causes are. So the first possible cause is bad hip posture and or weak abductors. Number 2 would be tight leg adductors and or ankles. Number 3, weak quadriceps, specifically the vastus medialis obliquus, and or tight hamstrings. Specifically, we're talking about the outer hamstring, the bicep femoris. All right, and the first fault we have on the list is bad hip posture. Specifically anterior pelvic tilt, aka Donald Duck butt, and or weak hip abductors. If you have an anterior or forward tilt of your pelvis, it can cause your hips to internally rotate, resulting in your knees caving in and pronation of your feet. Just try it out on your own. Stick your butt out as far as you can and you will feel exactly what I'm talking about. Your knees will start to cave in and your feet will start to sit on the outside part. Alright, so in order to correct bad hip posture, we're going to need to strengthen the glutes as well as the hamstrings and the abdominals. So exercises like glute bridges, Romanian deadlifts, and you're going to want to work a lot of ab isolation in there too. Another thing you're going to want to do is a fascia release on your quads, your TFL, which is located in your outer hips, and also you want to do some fascia release on your lower back. Another thing you're going to want to do is lengthen your hip flexors and your TFL. My favorite way to do it is with this hip lunge here. So you're going to place one knee on the ground, the other foot's going to be forward, and you're just going to pull your torso forward into that bent knee until it's perpendicular with the ground. And be sure to reach your arm up overhead and inward to really get a deep stretch out of your hips. Now, as far as strengthening your hip abductors go, you're going to want to incorporate some banded squats where you just place a mini resistance band above your knees. Just be sure that you're constantly forcing your knees outward throughout the movement. A couple other great movements you can do are monster walks as well as fire hydrants. Now, another possible fault could be that you have tight leg adductors and or ankles, which is forcing your knees inward. And in order to correct, you're going to want to perform a fascia release on your adductors and you're going to want to stretch your ankles out. One of my favorite stretches for stretching out the ankle is simply just walking on your toes and heels. I do this every single time I work out. This is part of my dynamic warm-up. And everybody that trains with me, we start every session with stretching out our ankles. Pretty much my stretching philosophy, we go from the bottom up. So yeah, every single session we're going to stretch out our ankles. So just walk on the balls of your feet, try to balance, pretend like you have high heels, and then for the heel walk, just kind of sit back on your heels. Yeah, you're going to look weird doing it, but this is going to go a long way in opening up your ankles. Another great stretch for ankle mobility as well as hip mobility is the grok squat. Grok squat is pretty much just a bodyweight squat going as deep as you can go. And you're just going to hold it for time. Now, when you first perform a box squat, you might feel your torso bend over, fold over on itself. That's okay. You pretty much want to go as deep as you can while staying upright. So that's going to be very subjective. Now, trust me, over time, if you keep working the grok squat, you are definitely going to increase your hip mobility. And honestly, if you have a problem breaking parallel with the squat, the grok squat is going to go a long way in giving you that sort of mobility. And another thing you can do is force dorsiflexion with a yoga block. So just set the ball of your feet at the top of the block and set your heel down. As far as the hip adductors go, side lunges are fantastic at targeting those. Also, seated butterfly stretches, if you're familiar with those are also very effective at targeting the adductors. And the last thing we're going to want to do is perform a fascia release on the adductors. Now, This is sort of an awkward position to get into. You're just going to kind of have to figure it out. But for this, you can either use a foam roller or a lacrosse ball. You're just going to set the foam roller on your leg adductors and just do some small movements, dig in there, try to break up any kind of fascia that you might have built up. And the last fault that we have that could possibly cause valgus collapse is tight hamstrings, specifically the outer hamstring, the bicep femoris, as well as weak quads. A tight bicep femoris is going to cause external rotation of your tibia, which is going to cause your knees to collapse. So in order to fix this one, we're going to need to perform a fascia release on the bicep femoris. So for this, we're going to place the foam roller under the outside part of your knee and apply pressure and roll in short movements up and down the length of the hamstring. And finally, we have weak quads. With this one, we are specifically talking about the vastus medialis obliquus. And since quads are responsible for helping stabilize the knee, it's important that they are strong and, even more important, balanced. So in order to strengthen the quads, you're going to want to do direct isolation. If you're in a sort of a home gym environment, like step-ups are a good option for strengthening the quads. If you're in a commercial gym, I would do leg press, specifically single leg press, just to make sure that any weak points in your quads are getting hit. And other stabilization exercises you're going to want to do is the single leg squat. Now in this video, I do have a kettlebell racked for some extra challenge, but these are perfectly fine without any weight. And I would definitely start out without weight. This exercise is most certainly harder to perform with weight in the rack. So go ahead and start with no weight. Start off seated on a bench or a box, and you're just going to stand up on one leg at a time. Single-legged deadlifts are also great for leg stabilization, as are Bulgarian split squats. But one of my favorites is actually yoga inspired. So pretty much what you would do is get into a crane pose, like the crane from Karate Kid. And from the crane pose, you're going to slowly transition into what they call in yoga the Warrior 3. So while you're in the crane, you want to find a small spot, kind of hyper-focus on it. Be sure to focus your gaze on one small object. This is going to help you balance much more easily. So from the crane, you're going to slowly kick that leg back, arms out to the side, until your torso is almost parallel with the ground. Once you've made it into the Warrior 3, go ahead and slowly bring yourself back up to the crane. So with this balance exercise, you want to perform it for probably like 2 or 3 different repetitions on each pose, going about 20 to 30 seconds. I kind of did a short version in the demonstration, but in reality, you're going to hold each of these poses for about 20 to 30 seconds. Alright, that's pretty much it for the video. If you enjoyed the content, please leave a like, please subscribe, go ahead and share this. If you know somebody who has a valgus squat, and don't forget that you can support me on Patreon and Subscribestar, and I will see you in the next video. Peace out.